Hi, I'm Tom. This is Lucy, and this is Kitty Help Desk. So today I want to talk about a little device. It's sort of a review, more of just a recommendation, because a lot of clients of mine have at least one dog in the home along with their cats. And in many cases, the dog is very interested in the cat's litter boxes. Now, cats, if they haven't been exposed to dogs in the first 20 weeks of life and become socialized to them, very similar to becoming socialized to us humans, they will usually kind of see them as predators and, things to be avoided for the most part. And so it can also be helpful to give the cats rooms that they can access that the dogs cannot. All that's very helpful. And in many cases, it can be very difficult to do that because most people, the only tool they really think of in that case is like a cat door, some kind of access that has to be cut into the door. When you rent, that's not a practical thing to do. Even in a home that you own, sometimes people will actually replace entire doors so that they keep the intact door so that it's there when they need to sell the house. Putting a cat door into a door in a destructive way can be difficult for most people, to be honest. And so, it's good that there are other options out there. Now, one thing to understand is that when you're talking about restricting your cat, some people want to put a cat into a room for their meals if the dog is bothering them or if other cats are bothering them. Or sometimes they want to, restrict the cat in other ways. And it's very important that you understand that cats really, restrictions make them very nervous. Okay, they really want to have freedom. They want autonomy. That's what makes them feel secure. If you restrict them in any way, it can make them feel very, very nervous about you and the situation and their environment. So you want to focus on restricting your dog. Dogs often thrive on restrictions. That's why some dogs are crate trained and they will stay in a crate overnight and be quite content to do so. I'm not here to debate whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think there are arguments on both sides, but the fact is that dogs have been bred for 40,000 years to have specific sort of people-pleasing behaviors, and cats haven't. Cats are still basically wild animals because all their wild instincts are intact. So what they need is freedom. They need to have the freedom of choice. And so giving them that freedom is one of the main things that this particular device gives them. So this thing is called a door prop. It's basically just this plastic device, okay? It comes with, here's the little brochure. It's got some very minimal instructions because it doesn't really require a lot of work to install. It does have these little pads. I didn't use these when I installed them. I'll show you that in a moment. But this is basically just the device. And what it does, it comes with this little thing. This is a little Allen wrench key, which I think is really kind of a nice addition considering this thing doesn't cost very much. I'll put a link to the device down in the show notes so you can check the current pricing, because these things, boy, we're really in a time now where prices are just up and down all the time. But this just allows, sorry, Lucy, this just allows you to, sort of back out those screws so that you can make the gap in the doorway larger or smaller. What this device does, I'm going to tighten this back here, is it replaces the striker plate in your door frame. So there's a plate where the door closes normally, a little metal plate that guides the little latch into the hole. And if you'll notice here, this is very similar in size and shape to that. This is designed to replace that striker plate, and you put that there. And now when the door closes, it stops out here, not here. You see what I mean? I'm going to show you some footage of me putting this into a door. Now, let me be very clear. I live in a really old house. My house is over 100 years old. I picked a door that's in an extension to the house that was built in the 1970s thinking, oh, this will probably work better. It'll fit better in this spot. That didn't turn out to be true. None of the doors in my home have striker plates that match this actual keying. So the screw holes are kind of in the wrong place for my striker plates. But however, that really didn't stop me from being able to use this. I just used one hole instead of two. And then what's great about this is you can remove it at any point. You can actually close the door all the way if you need to. It'll close out here, and this basically becomes the striker plate, this end out here. And you can make whether the door's open more or less. It'll vary according to where you set those screws. I think this is an ingenious device. I think that it solves a crucial problem that people with dogs and cats have, and it gives the cats safe zones that are very easy for them to access. It doesn't change how we access the rooms. You turn the doorknob and still open it the normal way. You can ease it shut. It'll shut on its own. It'll latch in the latching spot here. And if you want the door to close all the way, you just sort of pry this open and the door can go all the way in. The little pads are basically to extend this area here in the door frame if you have a gap there, you need to kind of fill it in so it doesn't move much. But I didn't find that to be a problem, even with just using one screw in the way that I did it. And I really, I didn't pay a lot. I think this was less than $20. And I just feel like this is a great solution if you have a dog in your home with your cat, because a dog approaching the litter box while the cat's in it, that's not going to be a really welcome addition to the cat's litter box ritual. It can add a lot of stress around the act of toileting. It can even result in a cat beginning to house soil. Giving the cats places up high to get away from dogs is great. And you can achieve some of this just by elevating a litter box high enough where a dog can't get to it. But a lot of dogs will persevere even in that case. And this just gives the cats some private rooms. Now, I'm not advocating that they need privacy in order to use the litter box. That's not actually true. They need to be able to see around them, make sure that the coast is clear, there's no predators approaching, that sort of thing. But what they do need is they need to not be bothered and not find predators approaching. If the dog is approaching the litter box while they're in it, that can make them very nervous and make them avoid the box. Dogs can also just pester them sometimes. Dogs can be very friendly to cats at times. Cats don't perceive that as being friendly, and they need to avoid the dogs. And this could give the cat a private room, one room of your home that you have full access to normally, but the dog can't get in there. Now, if you have a dog that's very, very small, this may not be helpful. That's a rare case. It's very rare that people have dogs that are smaller than their cats. So in most cases, this is going to make the door open just wide enough for the cat and not for the dog. Now, if you have a cat like Lucy's a fairly large cat, and this may not open far enough for a very large cat. I checked it with Lucy, and she was able to go through it when I was luring her with some treats. So she could get through this at its widest setting, but it was a little bit of a squeeze. So that could be a factor that would, make this not work in a particular home. But I'm telling you, at the cost of this, I would really highly recommend trying it and seeing how it works. It's going to vary according to your door frame and the depth of where the latching plate is, and there's a lot of variables in every home. Just trying this, though, I think is well worth the effort if you need to give your cat some isolation away from the dog while they're doing their business. So, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.